everything okay?
Fantastic.
Langdon.
Kind of hoping I would never see him again.
You know, maybe he's changed.
Whittaker and Santos talk about Langdon, and she says she was hoping she'd never see him again. Whittaker suggests he may have changed. Does he believe that, or does he think she needs to hear that in that moment?
I think Whittaker is the kind of guy to give, for better or worse, to give people second chances, maybe third or fourth chances. But I don't think that's a good thing. But I do think he believes redemption is 100% possible for Langdon, and he has no beef with him necessarily. I think it's so brave. I think Whittaker sees that it's so brave for Langdon to come back into that environment, and understands kind of feeling out of place more than a lot of people. So yeah, I think it's genuine that he believes Langdon can change, and ultimately I think he wants to see them squash the beef, because it'll be easier for Whittaker, I think it would make the days easier in the future, so he's all for that.
Whittaker's also about to tell Santos something when Dana interrupts with a patient. Was he going to tell her about moving out and house sitting for Robbie, or something else?
Yeah, I think, he's definitely doesn't know how to break the news about, moving in with Robbie potentially. Because for him, I think it would be a really good setup, something hard to turn down. But now he's kind of, he knows that Santos kind of, in a really weird way, needs someone there, even though she'll never admit that. I think he knows deep down that she will take it quite personally. So yeah, he's really wrestling with how to tell her, and I think he knows that Santos will go, cool, whatever, great, go, but deep down knows that she kind of she needs Whittaker, unfortunately. Yeah.
Does he think he's going to miss being her roommate?
Yeah, Santos, deep down, will miss Whittaker as a roommate for sure.
And will he miss her as a roommate?
100%. Yeah, I think Whittaker really, really cares for her. I think she's really sort of given him a lot of confidence in a very indirect way, I think. But just being offered the chance to live with her, I think is like a huge gesture to him, and for someone to put up with him, that's huge. And yeah, he really cares for her at this point.
Robbie tells her to keep her personal life outside of work. Mohan says maybe she doesn't belong there. Does she truly feel that way, or is that just what's about going on right now?
I think she starts to feel that way because it's like the panic attack was just such a vulnerable moment for her, and she feels, I think, really embarrassed by it. But I also think that she's saying that because she wants him to validate that she does belong here, and he doesn't. And I remember filming that scene and just watching Dr. McKay, who Fiona plays, show up, and just sort of feeling so mortified by both of them looking at me after I say something so vulnerable. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and cry in a corner over there. Yeah, I think it's something she's maybe saying because she wants her mentor to say, no, you do belong here, you're just messed up,
Let's be honest, Robbie isn't the best example when it comes to who to follow. Yes, he's one of the best doctors, there's no arguing that. But it's also obvious that he's not maintaining his composure like he should be, or thinks he is. So where is Mohan's head really when it comes to listening to him because of that?
I mean, I think she isn't really aligned with him on some ways in which he delivers care, but I think she still looks up to him. I still think, because this is someone who's been in such a position of power through her shift in Pittsburgh, and at the end of the day, he is a really great doctor. I think she feels like maybe there's something to learn, and you're attending liking you as a resident. That's essentially what you're striving towards, and it's something that can get you so much more access and ability to learn. So I think that's why she's really hoping that she can get that from him, because I think at the end of the day, she does admire him.
Ogleby certainly has its way of saying things. Let's just put it that way. Telling Whitaker about Louis' death, the way he does that. Now here to Mohan about she had a heart attack. But that's just who he is, right? So it's just that he's just not changing who he is because of the fact that this is his first day and he might want to impress people. He's just staying who he is.
I think it's like somewhat of it's partially who he is, sort of crass, over intellectualizing, doesn't let his heart enter a conversation a lot. And I think that last aspect of it is sort of a protective measure in addition to his personality, which is to say that this is a strenuous, difficult environment. And it takes a toll, as he sees, with everybody here. And some degree of distance, I think, is helpful for him in a situation where maybe he's not fully comfortable or doesn't quite understand why he should care as much as he may want to, et cetera, et cetera. And it's partially who he is, partially this protective side of him. And I think those two aspects are sort of in conflict today, right? I think he does, when he says Louis, he croaked. I think he sees the cost on Whitaker's face, and even if he's like, okay, well, I'm off to my next thing. In the eulogy service, when everybody's there and he sees the look on Robbie's face, and he understands for a brief moment that his opinion about Louis, his rushed judgment about a chronic alcoholic and what they may be doing to themselves is lacking curiosity and concern. I think it strikes a chord with him to learn that Louis has always been trying his best, you know. So partially yes, and partially it's just where he is in his stage of doctoring.
What does Ogleby learn from McKay by her bringing him outside to treat the drug addict?
Yeah, with Kiki, I think it's more of the same, right? So the pattern of the day for Ogleby is, I think he's representative. The reason he's in this, like I hated him for a while, but I think he's in the story this is when I started softening to him. He is representative of an ideology that I think we see in the world. I think some doctors maybe hold, which is that people are responsible for the state of their own lives. It's something he holds fairly with himself and his patients. So with Louis, you're an alcoholic, you're doing this to yourself. With Howard, you are bariatric, you're obese, and why haven't you done any corrective measures with that? With Kiki, in that conversation that he and McKay have on the sidewalk, where he's like, I just don't understand addiction. It's the same thing, right? Why haven't you taken accountability for your life in the way that I'm trying to do? Which is why he's so forceful in the world, to try and make the world something that he wants to live in, his world. And each time there's this increasing awareness that these people have been trying their best every day of their lives. And with Kiki, I think we see him learn the fastest. Do you know what I mean? Like McKay tells him that thing, and then they get to the park, and even though he sees the wound and it sort of does something to him, he doesn't make any comments. He doesn't offer any what he thinks is help. You know what I mean? I think he learns to shut up. And I think he does that because he tries to start to care.
How much is he seriously considering maybe volunteering for the street team after this?
I don't think he is. I think he's pretty set on being a Robbie more than a McKay.
Yeah, I see that with him. But that's the thing too, is he's learning, but I think he's learning more from McKay than Robbie at this point.
I agree. Isn't it so interesting that I think the people who would be the greatest mentors to him, which would be a McKay, a street team would be exactly what he needs in his journey of learning empathy. And that's sort of interesting that he shirks away from it, right? We avoid the medicine that we need sometimes.
So Ogleby makes a mistake with Green and not looking at the aorta, and he does take responsibility. So how much is it the mistake and how much is it his ambition that he wants to go along for the procedure?
Well, then, okay. Two brains here, right? So there's what I know and then there's what Ogleby knows. So I talked to all of the doctors on set and I was like, is this common? Would a fourth year med student ever be expected to catch something like this? And the answer universally was like, no, there's no shot. Nobody would, even like a Samira, a fourth year resident might not be expected to know this, it's rare. And most doctors it's the zebra thing that Santos talks about, right? You hear hooves, this time it's the zebra too. And the tragedy, of course, is that they uncover that it could have been, if the power was there, Ogilvy would have seen it in the notes from, and knowing his brain, I think he would have been able to put two and two together. And this one patient that he allows himself to care for could have turned into a heroic moment of saving somebody with a really niche catch. But instead, we get the tragic side of it, right? Where he ends up blaming himself so hard for not catching this because he's a perfectionist. Anything that goes wrong in the scope of his day, he holds himself so accountable for. You know, he's always you got to give him the little shred of credit that he's due for the first half of the day, which is that he owns up to his stuff. You know, he says, I said that, yes, and maybe I don't see why it was wrong, but I said it. Or I did this mistake, I pulled out the class, I'm really sorry. It won't happen again. And I think that same degree of accountability is sort of destruction in this moment. To take responsibility for the death of somebody, and not just somebody, but somebody you allowed yourself to have an attachment to.
So is it the ambition, or is it that accountability that has him be like, I want to go along for this procedure?
I think that's accountability. I think that's him feeling guilty. I don't think ambition plays any part in that. I don't think he has aspirations to be a surgeon. He wants, like, you know, he saw Park the shark and he was like, what's up with this guy? This guy's kind of crazy. If Ogleby thinks you're crazy, that's saying something. And I think he cares. And for the first time in the day, we see that care. And we see just how great it is that he wants to do everything in his power to save this man's life.
This is the episode Roxy dies. And at first, Lena says she'd rather work. Do you think that's how she usually handles it when she loses someone as a death date?
100%. Focus on what's in front of you. I mean, who wants to go home and sit in silence? She does not want to sit in the quiet. It's too difficult in the quiet. Rather work. Just focus on what's ahead of you, even though she hasn't even slept. She came home, got in the shower, and got a call and was like, I'm out. But I think she just also, not just sitting in the quiet, but being surrounded by the chaos, it's easier.
But it's also like when she loses a patient as a charge nurse, that's what she has to do. She has to go back to work. So that's what
you have to go on. It's sort of like right? It's a muscle reflex. She learned to just move forward. There's no downtime.
How much did she need Dana in that moment, like in general, but also to tell her, no, go home?
So much. You know, Dana and Lena have such a beautiful relationship because, and Catherine and I the minute Catherine and I met, we just clicked. It was like, we joke with each other, like we're Tweedledee and Tweedledum. We are frickin' frack. We are right there with each other. And we had developed our own backstory. I mean, she's been over there for over 30 years. I'm right behind her. She trained Lena. Dana trained Lena to be a nurse. So we kind of came up together. So there's a lot of history and a lot of love and a lot of family there.
What do you think is part of Lena's routine when she does go home after a loss like this?
First thing, shower, 100%. Like 20-minute hot shower, just trying to wash the night off of you. And then I think she sits down and eats and watches some really crappy reality television, because there's nothing that numbs the brain better than some good reality television. And then to bed.
So we know the Dana and Robbie dynamic. Is Lena and Abbott at all like that? Like, what is that dynamic like on night?
Okay, so, well, Sean and I, it was funny at the end of 15, it was towards the end of 15, there was a scene where Gloria comes down and it's literally just the four of us. It's like me and Dana right at the desk in the hub. Robbie and Abbott are just sitting there. And like even Sean and I had discussed, and he was like, are we going to get the chance to like show that we are like these two? And I was like, I know. When are we going to get that chance? Because yes, I do believe 100% that is how Abbott and Lena are, for sure. And I think the four of us have been in the trenches together for so long.